Well, good morning and good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants event. My name is Joe Grabowski, and I'll be your host for today. For those who might be new to Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants, we are all about bringing science, adventure, exploration, and conservation live into classrooms across North America and beyond. So we are gearing up for a really exciting new school year. If you head over to exploringbytheseat.com, you can find a crazy lineup of live events for September. All right, well, let's get to today's main event. This is one of our favorite things to do here at Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants. We love going live into the field with really exciting science. So today we are going to be joined by the team from Darwin200. They are on an incredible round the UK expedition aboard the tall ship Pelican of London. So we're going to get to meet them very shortly. They're on the Isle of Lewis right now in Scotland, part of the Outer Hebrides. And I've got this incredible video clip to play that's going to introduce it way better than I can. So let's get that rolling.
Darwin200 is a planetary conservation initiative. Next year, we are going to begin a voyage around the world, following Charles Darwin's journey on his ship, HMS Beagle. Our mission is to help create a brighter future for our planet. We're going to train the world's top young conservation leaders and create the world's most exciting classroom by beaming out interactive experiments, activities, and resources to schools across the globe to engage millions of students during every single day of our voyage. Our goal is to inspire passion for science and conservation. This year, we're undertaking a voyage around the United Kingdom to test our systems and get ready for next year's global adventure. We are halfway through our 7-week voyage around the UK. We've sailed along the coasts of England, Wales, and Northern Ireland, and we're now amongst the beautiful Isles of Scotland. During our journey, we've undertaken studies of dolphins, whales, birds, and seals. Our dive team is surveying UK waters and has already found colourful cuckoo wrasse, anemones, jellyfish, and cup coral. The data we collect is going to several recording schemes for conservation studies. We've brought on a team of young scientists in partnership with the University of Plymouth. They're studying a range of subjects, including pollution, macroplastics, microplastics, planktons, and many wildlife studies. We're creating videos about our adventures and launching them every few days during our journey, so you can take part in our adventure. Visit Darwin200.com for details.
All right, incredible clip to get us started. I am now going to introduce everybody to Stewart McPherson. He is a biologist, an explorer, an author, a filmmaker, and spearheading the Darwin200. So let's bring Stuart in here live from Scotland. Hey, Stuart, how are you?
Hello, it's lovely to see you all. How are you?
Oh, so good, Stuart. It's so great to see you. I thought I'd just start off by telling you we have an incredible group joining us. We've got classrooms and families joining us in Canada, in the United States, in the UK, Scotland specifically. We've also even have viewers tuning in from India. So this is a great start to the day and end to the day to many people around the world.
That's wonderful. It's a pleasure to welcome you to our ship, the Pelican of London. It's a little bit windy here today, so I'll try and speak up. I'm sorry if it's a little bit blustery for the first section, but in a minute we'll be on the ship and it should be a bit more sheltered. So let's show you the ship. This is our Pelican of London. We're sailing around the UK, as you heard in that video. Our ship is 44 meters long. She has 3 masts, and we'll just walk along her so you can see her. She's steel-hulled. She was originally built as a trawler, but converted about 20 years ago and built as a sailing ship. We're using her as a platform to undertake a whole range of research activities, and you'll meet some of the young scientists and the team aboard her shortly. But this is the wheelhouse. We're going to go on board and see it in a second. These are a few of the masts here at the front, in the middle section here. And right at the bow, you'll see the little figurehead of the Pelican of London. Actually, we'll jump on here, I think. So, unfortunately, it's low tide, so you're just going to have to bear with us as we climb on board. So, welcome aboard. We're on the Pelican of London now. And we'll just have a little walk through. Oh, sorry, you're right there. There you go, well done. Cool. We'll have a little walk through. So, we've been using the ship to sail around the entire British Isles. It's taken about 7 weeks, and we're halfway through at the moment, undertaking research projects all the way around. Inside the wheelhouse, we have our wonderful chief officer here, chief of the mates.
Hi there.
This is Tamsin.
Hi everyone. I'm the chief officer on board, so I keep the fore to lake watch morning and evening, and I'm also responsible for the general day-to-day running of the ship. So I do all the planning for who's going to be in which watch, who's going to be doing what at what time, and then organising other things as the day proceeds.
Beautiful, thank you. It's lovely to meet you, Tamsin. Thanks. Okay, so we'll walk around a bit more of the ship. So currently we're on the Isle of Lewis. Scotland, as I'm sure as you know, is absolutely full of history. People have lived here on these outer islands for thousands upon thousands of years. And I believe the very first clip that Joe's going to play to you is about some standing stones that are located just about a kilometre from here, a few kilometres from here, just past a castle over here. So Joe, over to you for the first clip.
Welcome everyone to the spectacular standing stones of Callanish on the Isle of Lewis in Scotland. This incredible group of standing stones is over 5,000 years old, which is older than the pyramids in Egypt. These stones, they are huge. This is probably the biggest one of all here in this structure. It's over 5 meters tall. Just look at the size of this thing. They're arranged in a circle here, then with 4 arms like a cross. These two being really long. That one's over 80 meters. This one's, I guess, about 30, 40. And the same 2 smaller side arms. Then in the center, there's this incredible ring of these giant stones. No one really knows when they were put here exactly or why. They say they're believed to be over 5,000 years old. And for over 1,500 years, they were used as a site for rituals and ceremonies. No one also knows really how they were transported. Can you imagine trying to move blocks of granite like this? I mean, look, this is as wide as me and 2 or 3 times as tall. And obviously there's a section down in the ground as well. So the weight of these things, dragging them up these hills to make these structures, is just incredible. Just goes to show the importance to what they must have been to these Bronze Age people that made them all those centuries and centuries and centuries ago. There's lots of different beliefs. Some people believe that they were for the stars or for aligning to different times in the lunar cycle. The truth is, no one really knows. There's a lot of old traditional beliefs as well here on the island. Some people call them false men, men that were turned to stone. Although I'm not quite sure about that belief, to be honest, personally. It's also believed that there's a mythical creature called the Shining One that walks through these stone circles just on one day a year. So whether that's true or not, I'm not really able to tell you. There's another belief that these also were people that were turned to stone after not believing in Christianity and not converting to Christianity. So that's another belief as well. Just walking around them, you can see they're all different shapes and all different sizes, but most of them are quite thin. They're relatively thin and broad. So they're obviously selected and carved for those exact purpose and those exact shapes. Just walking around them here in the middle, there's a little depression. Look here. This looks as if it could have had perhaps an altar. Perhaps there's a big stone slab that went across here as the centre of the ceremony and the centre of the rituals that took place here. Walking down this, you can see this long corridor of stones. I think there's over 100 in total. It's pretty amazing to see, and just to remember that they're 5,000 years old and older than the pyramids in Giza. It's pretty amazing to think. Stone has been used here in Scotland for centuries and centuries and centuries. And our next stop is the traditional houses on the Isle of Lewis, the black houses. So let's go check those out.
So I hope you guys enjoyed seeing the standing stones. Scotland is such an interesting place. There's history all around us. I was about to show you the castle over here, but I just have to say before I do, while you were watching that video, a little seal popped his head up just down here by this boat, eating crabs. Unfortunately, he just disappeared seconds before you guys came back. So he might turn up again as we're talking. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed seeing those standing stones. They're one of over 20 ancient stone sites from the Bronze Age and even earlier, littered all over on just this island. And there's hundreds and hundreds of sites all around Scotland like that. So the history here is just incredible. I know it's probably quite small on your screen, but over here, there's a beautiful castle looking over Stornoway. So yeah, the history here is quite interesting. Well, stone has been used here in Scotland for a very, very long time, as you probably heard in that last video. We're now going to see a clip about the traditional houses that were used right up until the 70s. So up until the 70s, people lived in the houses that you're about to see. So Joe, if you could kindly play the next clip, you'll see some of the traditional houses here on the Isle of Lewis.
This is a traditional Scottish black house village. These houses are very interesting and very distinctive. If you look in here, they have a double door, one here at the back and one here at the front, so that in the wild, wet, cold conditions of winter, you could step inside, close this door before going inside to try and keep the heat and warmth inside the house. The houses themselves have really thick walls. These stone walls are about a metre or so wide. They're really, really thick, and often on the inside had insulation to again keep that warmth in. But as the roofs are the most distinctive things of these houses, as you can see, they're completely thatched. And down here, there's one that's in the process of being thatched, this big bale here. They put a thick layer, 30, 40 centimetres of hay on the top, pack it down as tightly as they possibly can to keep it as insulative as possible. And then all around the edges, traditionally there'd be grass planted, and that would seal the edges of the roof, again to keep in and make sure there was no little gaps for heat to escape, to keep it as warm as possible inside. Then inside they'd always have a fire going with peat on it, burning and making as much heat as possible, often creating a lot of soot, which is one of the reasons they were nicknamed black houses, because of the soot on the inside of the roofs. Look at this massive pile of peat cuttings. For centuries, people would go out onto the moorlands and onto the heathlands and cut out these sections of peat. They'd put them in these piles and leave them to dry for weeks or even months, and then they'd be ready. And this was the fuel that kept people warm during winter. During the cold, dark weeks and months, they'd retreat into these houses and they'd burn these and slowly give off a little bit of heat, and that's what enabled them to survive during the winter months. The burning peat has a very, very distinctive smell, and I can smell it actually in the air. One of these houses must have a peat fire on the go right now, so it's interesting to see these old traditions kept alive in these beautiful little villages.
So that was traditional life on the islands all around here, all around Scotland. Life on board the ship is a little bit different. There's 44 people on our ship at the moment in different cabins down below obviously the waterline, down that water level. We share cabins from 4 to 6 people, and we're now down on the well deck of the ship. We have just a few of our science team here undertaking some experiments, and you'll meet them shortly. And over here, we have some of our wonderful sailors that are sailing the ship around the UK.
Hey guys.
So the sailors of traditional times had a very different experience to us. We have a luxury ship with heating and lovely food, but traditionally they would eat this. This is what old sailors in the 18th and 19th centuries would eat. It's called hardtack. I'm not sure if you've seen Master and Commander with that section where they eat the weevils. Well, this is exactly the stuff that they ate. It's basically flour that's baked really, really hard, and it would last for years and years and years at a time stored. And it would often have maggots or even beetles living inside of it. They used to say you had to suck it, look at it for breakfast, suck it for lunch, and eat it for dinner. So it's not the most edible thing. So would anyone like to try any hardtack?
Can I start?
Yeah.
Oh!
May I try one?
Of course, of course.
Yeah. Actually, that's a big.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
I'll share with
Very
you.
salty.
Share with you,
I tried to crack it first.
please.
Oh,
It's good.
it worked.
Ah.
Is it good? Very good. Yeah. How did you find it? Was it easy to eat?
It's quite hard. It's the hardest biscuit I've ever had.
Yeah.
But it tastes like biscuit.
Like biscuit?
Yeah. It's tasty.
Tasty?
Not too bad. Freshly ready.
It was very famous to be very, very hard to eat, and it was even called molar breakers or teeth breakers. So, do you think that it lives up to the name?
It does, I think. It's better to eat it with soup.
Really?
Something like soup or dip it in, just soak it up first before eating it. And that's how traditional sailors would have had it.
That's it. Absolutely. Yes. So there's a little bit of hardtack. Now, while we've been on our ship, we've been undertaking quite a few different science projects. We've been looking at macroplastics in the water, microplastics. We've had a dive team. There's a wetsuit right here. We've been undertaking all sorts of experiments. We've been undertaking a project looking at whales and dolphins. Here are two of our lovely scientists. Perhaps they might say a word of their work.
Hello. We're analysing the nutrient concentration in the water just outside the ship, in the middle of Stornoway Harbour, and we have already found that the concentration is quite high, which is interesting because I would have expected it to be relatively pristine.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Oh, that's great. That's very interesting. Thank you very much. We've also been undertaking a survey of plastics. We have actually found less surface plastics floating, as in bottles, on water than we were expecting, but lots and lots and lots and lots of little pieces of plastic floating in the water column. These are called microplastics, and these can have a very damaging impact on the local ecosystem, especially for filter feeding animals. All around the UK waters, there's lots of filter feeders, including big basking sharks. And unfortunately, those microplastics are not good for those filter feeders. We've also been counting whales and dolphins, and we've seen over 60 pods of whales and dolphins so far. We've even seen a bluefin tuna and lots of sunfish. And I think Joe's now got a video to play about the sunfish. So Joe, if you'd be so kind.
Sunfish are among the world's most unusual fish. They occur in tropical and temperate oceans worldwide. They start off life as larvae and initially resemble regular fish, but develop to take on a distinctive, almost circular shape. They're adapted to eat jellyfish and cruise the surface on their sides, looking for their prey. Often only the tips of their fins are visible from above the water. Despite their unusual shape, sunfish may grow up to 4 meters or so in size. During the Darwin200 UK Voyage, we have spotted unusually high numbers of sunfish off the south coast of England. Sunfish are considered rare in UK waters, but so far we've recorded over 60 of them, with 50 sighted in just 3 hours, close to the Isles of Scilly. Many of the sunfish that we've seen have been in small groups, with one group consisting of up to 10 individuals. All of the sunfish that we've seen so far are of a relatively consistent size, of about 1 to 1.5 meters, so perhaps they're of the same year class. Follow the Darwin200 UK Voyage to see if we discover more interesting marine life as we journey around the British Isles.
Weren't those sunfish strange? We were very, very lucky to see so many of them on the voyage so far. We're also very lucky to be joined by the captain of Pelican of London.
Hiya, my name's Ben and I'm the captain of the ship. I hope you guys are having a good hour today. We're doing some really interesting stuff here in Stornoway. Obviously we're in here because it's really windy, so we don't want to be out at sea at the moment, but we are looking forward to going sailing again tomorrow. Thanks very much.
Great. So that's what we're up to at the moment. That's our plan. We're about to head north, hopefully, to some more interesting islands. We're posting photos and videos as we go. And then hopefully around the top of Scotland, all the way to the Orkney and Shetland Islands, and down the coast to another island, Bass Rock. And we're doing a lecture with Explorer by the Seat of Your Pants in a few weeks, hopefully with 500,000 gannets, seabirds, on the island. So if we get good weather, fingers crossed, we'll be broadcasting live on top of an island with 500,000 birds squawking and flying and flying all around us. Talking of birds, we had a bit of a surprise the other day. We woke up to find shearwaters, Manx shearwaters, all over our ship. And in the next clip, our last clip I think today, you'll see them and you'll see what we had to do to rescue them. So Joe, if you'd be so kind as to play the next clip, you'll see the shearwaters.
Darwin200 is at anchor off Lundy Island.
During the night, we've had quite a few unexpected visitors. Lots of these beautiful little Manx shearwaters have landed on the ship. The problem is, these guys can't take off from a stationary position. They have to have a little bit of a runaway to get up into the air and fly. So the best thing we can do is to throw them up and let them fly home. Yes, he's off.
shearwaters get dazzled and confused by bright lights like this one here. There's ones like that all the way through the rigging. So it's hardly surprising that they get disorientated and landed on the decks. During the night, we actually found about 30 of them, but hopefully now they're all on their way back to their burrows safely. On Lundy, thousands of Manx shearwaters spend the night time safely in their burrows in the turf above the sea cliffs. Every day, they fly hundreds of kilometres to fish, but on their return, their mates make eerie calls to guide their partners back to their home burrows. From late summer to February, they leave the UK and overwinter in South America. Shearwaters are able to fly back to their burrows when released hundreds of kilometres away. Dr. Rowan Holt discovered this stowaway 3 days later. It was in a rather bedraggled state, so he dried it out, fed it, and then successfully released it the next day.
Aren't those little shearwaters cute? I know it might seem very strange throwing them up from the ship, but that is the official recommendation and the only way you can really help them get home. As you heard in the video, they can't take off on their own. So that's the best thing you can do. You might have seen at the end of the video, the last gentleman releasing the birds. Well, that was our wonderful marine biologist and diver, Dr. Rowan Holt. And Rowan is here to tell you a little bit about the marine life he's seen and his equipment.
Hey everybody, yeah, I'm just doing a little bit of maintenance work on my diving gear here. It's not like a normal scuba set at all. This is actually called a rebreather, and it allows me to stay underwater for hours and hours. And I don't produce any bubbles either. It's one of the great things about this piece of kit. You can sneak up onto fish and all sorts of underwater creatures that don't really like divers. They might get scared away by the bubbles. So this piece of kit, I can get really close, get really good photos of them as well. So we've had some really good dives. We've been diving on very steep underwater cliff faces, and it's been some really magical coloured fish, lovely corals and sponges and things like that underwater. So we have seen a really good variety of stuff around Scotland here. Really, really nice.
Well, thank you, Rowan. Well, so now we can hand back to Joe, and if anyone has any questions, please put forward any questions either for Rowan or for the captain or for the sailors or for the young scientists. Anything you want to know about being a sailor or a pirate.
All right. Excellent, Stuart. Thank you so much. That was an incredible lesson. And thank you to the whole crew for taking part today and showing us around the ship, showing us some of the scenery and the traditional way people have lived on those islands, as well as some of the biology, some of the great experiments that you are doing. So thanks so much, Stuart. That was awesome. All right. Well, now it's time for us to take over here with a little Q&A action. So those who are tuning in live via YouTube or on Facebook, you can use the chat sidebars to send us in some questions. And then we also have a group of live classrooms and families joining us from different areas. So I'm going to bring some of those groups in to ask us some questions live. But let's get started. We've got Akash joining us. He's joining us from India, and he is wondering, how deep have you been able to go on the dive so far?
Oh, that's a very good question. That might be best for Rowan here. How deep?
Hi guys, yeah, this kit that we've been using allows us to get to around about 30 to 40 meters down. It's 120, 130 feet. It's been, quite a long way down. It's dark down there, so we see some quite different species that we actually see near the surface. So yeah, 130 feet. That's our normal depth, maximum depth.
Wow. And as Rowan was saying, it's very different down at those depths. It's dark, it's cold. Rowan has big floodlights to see all the creatures and to see the different animals down at that level. So about 30 meters, 40 meters. Any other questions?
All right, very cool. Let's keep those questions coming. I am now going to go, let's see, let's visit Oshawa, Ontario first. We have Genevieve and Juliet joining us here in Canada. Let me pop them into the call. Hey, girls, how you doing?
Good.
Hello.
Hi. Back in the 70s, was there any electricity in the black houses?
I'm sorry? What was...
Back in like the 70s, was there any electricity in the black houses?
Well, traditionally not. I've got to be honest, I don't know by the 70s if there was electricity. Traditionally, they were lit by big fires in the middle, burning the peat. There are, believe it or not, still people living in the black houses around Scotland. Some of them have been done up and fixed, and they do definitely have electricity. That's a very good question. But traditionally, of course, there'd be no electricity at all. That's why their walls were so thick, and their roofs were so thick as well, to keep them nice and warm. In the 70s, I'm guessing now, but I think there probably was, but by that point. Yeah, and of course the modern ones now definitely do have electricity. But that's a very good question.
All right, thanks, girls. We'll pop back to you later if there's a little bit of time. So let's go to another one of our live groups. This time we're going to go to New Jersey. We've got Mrs. Hawkins Group joining us. Let me get their mic turned on here. There we go. How are we doing, boys and girls? All right, Mrs. Hawkins, if you can hear me, can you unmute your mic for us?
Oh, there you go.
There they go. Hey, New Jersey.
Oh, there we go. Hello, children.
How long will the journey be, and what stop are you most excited for? You might have to put your mask down.
All right, I'm going to relay that question for you, Stu. She's wondering, how long will the journey be, and what part are you most excited for? Is there a location you've really been kind of itching to get to?
That's a really good question. So the journey is about 7 weeks around the UK and 2 years going all the way around, hopefully starting next year. But the one we're on at the moment is 7 weeks, and we're about halfway through it. In terms of the location that we're all most excited about, well, personally, I'm most excited about the island we're going to in time, Bass Rock, with 500,000 birds on. And if we're lucky with the weather and lucky with the rain, if there's no rain, we're going to live broadcast by satellite from Bass Rock with 500,000 birds. So hopefully, keep your fingers crossed, that works. So that's the one I'm most excited about. Should we ask our friends, the young sailors, what they're most excited about, or what they've enjoyed most? What have you guys most enjoyed, or what are you excited about seeing? Is it whales, dolphins, islands, seals? Go on, shout out.
I saw a minke whale, and that was amazing. I was just talking to one of the scientists, Joe, and we were talking about what sort of whales we would see. And he said,
what about you guys over here? What are you most nice and loud?
Well, I really like to see more seals. There's actually one seal sleeping by us very nearby right there. Hopefully you can see that later if we have a chance. But wildlife-wise, I see dolphin swimming with us while we were sailing through the storm. So that was just an amazing sight to see. And it just showed how much we kind of connect with nature and how interesting dolphin as a species is. And it's generally very curious. It's one of those experiences that I would not forget.
Oh, what have you, Ash? What have you enjoyed, or what are you most excited about?
So earlier on in the voyage, I was climbing up to stow some of the sails back quite high up, and whilst I was doing that, I saw a bunch of dolphins just swimming next to the bow. So I'm really hoping I'll get another opportunity to see them, because like everyone else, we're quite excited when we see dolphins. We might see some sharks, basking sharks, or some whales as we go through the rest of the Scottish Isles. So fingers crossed we'll see more.
Great. So I hope that answers your question about what they're all most excited about to see.
All right. Well, let's jump to another live group. We've got a group, Mrs. Tanner's group, Tanner's Titans, fourth graders joining us from North Little Rock, Arkansas. So I'm going to pop them right into the event here. There we go. How we doing, Arkansas?
Hello, everyone. Wow. It looks like you guys have been...
My question...
Take your mask off, babe.
My question is, how do you sleep in such a small boat since there's so many of you?
Oh. That was a very, very good question. If I heard it right, the question was, how do we sleep when it's very wavy? Is that the question?
Oh, close. She's wondering, there seems to be a lot of crew. How do you all sleep in a boat that looks to be, you know, kind of small for that many people?
Oh, sorry. Sorry, I got it slightly wrong. Thank you. So how do we sleep in a boat this size? Well, it's true it is a lot of people, 44 people in a boat this size. However, it's actually quite spacious. It's got several different layers as you go down and down and down into it. We all sleep mostly on the bottom layer, and it's really quite long. We have lots of rooms. It is quite tight. We have bunk beds inside, so it's one above and one below, and there isn't that much personal space, to be completely honest with you. But there's enough for all of us. That's a very good question. Traditionally, back 100 years ago or 200 years ago, the sailors would sleep in hammocks. So they'd be rocking at sea in hammocks. But we don't have hammocks, we have bunk beds. So yeah, it is quite tight and it is quite cozy, but there's just about enough room for everyone. And we have a wonderful cook called Julie, who makes beautiful food for us every day. Lunch, breakfast, lunch and dinner. So even though it is quite small for 44 people, we all fit in just about. All right, very cool. Thanks for that great question from Arkansas. We're going to go to another live group, Stu. This group's a little bit closer to you. We've got Miss Mitchell's group. They're joining us from Huntly, Scotland. And let's bring them in here live. Hey, boys and girls, how are you? Hello. Hello. Where in Scotland are you?
Oh, we're getting a little feedback on that end. They're wondering, Stu's wondering, boys and girls, where are you in Scotland? Aberdeenshire.
That's wonderful. That's great. Well, we might be passing you. We might be passing you in a few weeks' time. That's wonderful. What was your... Do you have a question for the sailors, or the young, or any of the team?
Why don't people live in the village of the Black Houses in Lewis anymore?
Why don't they live there anymore?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Okay. Well, I understand that they set it up as a traditional village. They preserved it. So the people moved out of there in the early 1970s, and all of the black houses have now been protected. However, you can go and stay in them as a sort of like a hotel or a hostel. You can go and sleep in them. But across the Isle of Lewis, several others have been done up, and people are living in them on crofts and so forth around the islands. So I think those particular ones were abandoned in the 70s, and people moved out into regular houses. They were larger and warmer and bigger. But those ones that you saw in the video, they're definitely preserved and protected, and you can go and stay on them as like a hotel. So maybe you guys could do a field trip with your teachers and go out there and have a nice adventure staying in the black houses. They're very, very beautiful, and there's so much wildlife all around them. So they're very, very nice.
All right. Very cool. Great question. All right. Awesome. Stu, I've got a great question here online. It's a great one for the scientists. How do you collect the different samples in the sea for experiments?
That's a very good. Let's hand over to the scientists on that one. I'll go and find one. Here we go. Here's some of the lovely scientists. The question and you maybe talk nice and loud. The question is, how do you collect samples? Let's see.
Okay, so the water samples we collect, we have a special bottle for that. And in the harbour, we take a very, very simple device, and the bottle goes into the water, open, and then we can lower it to a certain depth, and we can close it. I can show it to you if you want.
Sure. Oh.
So this is our water bottle. And what we can do is we can open it.
Nice and loud.
And open the lids, and then on both sides. Oops. And then we can put it in the water. I can show you that as well.
Well, okay. Oh, sorry.
So we lower it to a certain depth, down and down and down. And quite often we measure the temperature and the salinity on the way down, so we know what kind of water we're taking. And then I have a weight here, and I can lower the weight and send it down. And when I bring up the bottle, the lids have closed, and I have a sample inside.
Oh, well, thank you very much for showing everyone.
And then I can let the sample water out and collect it in a bottle.
I hope that answers your question. We've had a live science experiment that we weren't expecting, so I hope that answers your question. So with this wonderful contraption, thank you very, very, very much for showing us.
You're welcome.
All right. Very, very cool. Let's grab another live group here, Stu. I'm going to go this time to Kincardine, Ontario. We have Owen joining us, representing the Neely family. Let me bring Owen to the call. Hey, Owen, if you're there, can you unmute for me, bud?
Hi.
Hey, Owen.
Hello.
Hi. Hello. I didn't really think of a question yet.
That's okay, bud. I can come back to you, okay?
Okay, thank you.
All right, no pressure. I'm going to go to Mrs. Place. Mrs. Place is joining us in Miami-Dade. Let me bring her in. She's representing hundreds, actually thousands of students from her district. There we go. Hey, Mrs. Place, how are you?
Hi, good morning. Hi, Stu. Welcome to Miami, Florida. We want to give a big shout out to Kendall Lakes Elementary. They have hundreds of students tuning in on YouTube. And we have a couple of questions, if that's okay.
Of course, that's wonderful.
The first question that the students wanted to ask was, how old is the boat that you're on?
How old is the boat? That's a very good question. The boat was built or launched in 1946. She was originally built as a trawler, but converted into a tall ship, into a sailing ship. So she was built in 1946.
Thank you. Could we ask another question? The students were really interested in the monoliths in that first video that you showed, the very tall rocks. And they wanted to know, is it possible that there were rocks in the water as well as on land?
Why? I'm sorry, could you kindly repeat the question?
The students wanted to know if the rocks that were on land were also found in the water. Under the water.
Very good question. So, yeah. So those standing stone circles have been found all over the UK. There's literally hundreds of them. The most famous one, of course, is Stonehenge in England, but there's hundreds and hundreds of them. Interestingly, many of them have been found along the beaches. So some probably were built along the beaches, along the coasts, along the water. Some of them were also made of wood. They were wood henges. This particular one that you saw, though, that was well up on a hill. So those ones weren't anywhere near the water. There's a loch not far away, but they weren't in the water. They were definitely on the top. The mystery is, though, how on earth people got those gigantic stones all the way up there. They're made of a very, very, very old rock called gneiss, as some people pronounce it. It's actually the oldest rock here in the UK. It's more closely related to rocks in Canada than it is in other ones in Europe, apparently. And it's about literally 3 billion years old. It's a very, 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 very old rock. So to answer your question, those particular ones were not built in the water. They're quite high up. They're about 100 meters above the water level. But in other parts of the UK, there were definitely circles of stones and also wood henges, wooden ones, that were built at water level and probably were flooded at different times as well. So hopefully that helps answer the question.
All right, absolutely, Stuart. We've got one more live group to visit. We are going to head now to Canton, Michigan. We've got Mr. Chris. He's representing the second graders, so they're tuning in from home via YouTube. Let me bring Mr. Chris live in here for us. How you doing today?
Doing real good. Hey, a lot of my students were asking questions that already have been answered about the animals and the different creatures. So thank you, Emma and Everett and Carly. Really appreciate that. But Landon did have a question that was something that was interesting too. What was it that inspired you to become a scientist and to go into this field of study?
If I heard the question correctly, what inspired me to become a scientist?
Yes.
Well, nature. I always wanted to get out and explore wildlife and see different places. I was very lucky and spent 10 years climbing mountains to look at different animals. So I was used to get out there and amazing plants. And all you guys listening, all young students listening as well, you can do exactly the same. As you grow up, you can study anything you want to. You can learn anything you want to. Don't think discovery cost. It's not. More species are being discovered now than, well, really time. I've found about 30 new species of plants and animals. Discovery is not in the past. It's absolutely continuing to this day. So if you guys are excited with science, and excited with experiments and animals and plants, seeing incredible parts of the world, study science and follow your passion and follow your interests and your careers, and you can get out into the field and go explore different parts of the world and see amazing diversity of life and landscapes and stories that are all across our wonderful planet. So I hope that answers you.
All right, Stuart, can we get you to maybe duck a little closer to the dock? Where our sailors are. The wind's picked up a little bit. Stuart, I don't know if you heard that, but the wind picked up a little bit. Do you mind moving a little closer to the sailors where it was a little more sheltered? All right. Can you still hear me, Stuart?
Well, we just wanted to say a very big thank you for listening, and it was a pleasure showing you around our ship and showing you the ships. Thank you very much. All of us on the Beacon of London, from the University of Plymouth, and all of our partners and sponsors, we say a very, very big thank you for listening and joining us on our ship and seeing what
All right, excellent. Well, Stuart, a huge thank you to you. A huge thank you to all of your crew. Today was absolutely incredible. Good luck over the next few weeks. We look forward to seeing updates. Stuart, if you can hear me, can you tell the groups tuning in where the best spot is to follow along? Where should we be following the next few weeks?
Brilliant. It's an absolute pleasure. Take care, everyone, and see you hopefully in a few weeks' time when we go to Bass Rock.
All right, very cool. Well, thanks, everybody. If you search Darwin200, you can find the website. There's all kinds of incredible videos online there. You can find Darwin200 on Instagram as well. Really cool pictures posted there. So thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Keep an eye on Exploring by the Seat. We will update you once we have the final date and time for the Bass Rock live event, which should be pretty incredible with seabirds. So thanks, everybody. We are going to sign off for today. Good luck to everybody, and we'll talk soon.